What's up? Not a car guy here, and today I'll be replacing the battery terminal connectors on my 2004 Ford Mustang GT. After the installation, I'll go over the tools and materials that I used with links in the description. But for now, let's get to the installation. Step 1 is to clean off the corrosion if there is any, and disconnect the battery. You can easily remove the corrosion by using a solution that is 1 tablespoon of baking soda mixed with a cup of water. I put it in a squirt bottle and it works nicely. It might be a good idea to lay down some shop towels first to minimize the mess. On my car, the socket size here is 8mm. Remember to wipe up any corrosion if you see any. Next, place the new terminal protectors on the corresponding terminal posts. Step 3. Place the new terminal connectors on the battery post. Red for positive, black for negative. It's always a good idea to have a mallet handy. These are marine-style terminal connectors and they actually fit very tightly, so there's no real need to tighten them down, just make sure the nut is not loose. Step 4. Remove the sheathing to expose the wire lug connection. You can do this easily with a utility knife. Step 5. Use your wire cutters to cut off the old connectors. Try to get them as close to the copper conductors as you can to preserve the length of the wire. Next, strip the insulation from the wire. If your car is as old as mine, that insulation is going to be very brittle and tough. It doesn't really cut like a normal insulator would, so it might take you a little more time and finesse to avoid nicking the copper wire underneath. I also recommend getting a fresh blade for your knife when doing this. Once you get the wires exposed, you can slip the heat shrink wrap over the wire. You can do this later on as long as you have one big enough to fit over the wire lugs. Once you find the right size wire lug, you can use it to measure how much insulation needs to be stripped away if you want to be more precise. Here's where I initially made a mistake. I did this whole job without realizing the wire lug would not fit over the terminal. Not a car guy. Doing jobs twice since 2021. This kit comes with wire lugs that have different sized holes on them for the same size gauge of wire. Whatever size lug you use, just make sure that it fits over the connector before you crimp it to the wire. After you select the correct wire lug, place it on the exposed copper wires and use a crimp tool to make the connection. If you're using this particular crimp tool, you'll find that the sizes are a bit off. I actually went a size smaller than what the tool maker says, and that enabled me to make the connection. It doesn't work as smoothly as it should, but it works nonetheless. After you crimp the lug, give it a tug to make sure it's secure. Step 9. Slide the rubber sheath over the exposed wires. Before you melt it with a heat gun, I would repeat all previous steps on all the other wires, so that you can heat them all at once. If your negative wires look like this, you can separate the 2 smaller ground wires from the big one. I used a single wire lug for the 2 smaller wires and another lug for the big wire. Step 10. Use a heat gun to melt and seal the protective sleeves. I think pretty much any heat gun will do. These melted pretty easily with mine on the hottest setting. If your connectors came with these rubber covers, you can go ahead and slide those over the wire lugs and pull them through. Now put the wire lugs over the post on the terminal connectors and fasten the wing nut over them to make contact and hold them in place. These wing nuts were actually difficult to turn because they interfered with the wire lugs, but I still managed to get them tight. This is something to keep in mind with the wing nut style terminals. You can't really guarantee that the lug you're using is going to have enough clearance for the wing nut, which kind of defeats the purpose of the convenience of the wing nut style. You can tighten down the posts, put the covers over them, and you're done. And remember, now that you have these nice high quality covers, you won't be able to see the corrosion. Congratulations! You have some new battery terminal connectors that are way better than your old crappy 20-year-old ones that are falling apart. Stick around in this video for some additional and useful information about the tools and materials I used, how much they cost, and why I did this all in the first place. But first, give me a like and a subscribe if you found this video helpful or interesting. I'm going to give you a rundown on the specific tools and materials I used for this job. I got this Amazon kit for Christmas. Shout out to my sister-in-law Elizabeth. This kit comes with crimpers, cutters, copper wire lugs, and heat shrink wrap. This kit was $35.99. These marine style connectors were purchased separately on Amazon from Fastronics for $21.99. I also saw similar marine style connectors at my local Napa store for about $22, but they didn't come with the covers on them. If you want to get straight to this job and don't want to wait for shipping, you can easily find these at your local parts store. I also thought I'd pick up some terminal protectors for some added protection. The heat gun was something I already had, but if you're trying to save money, you can pick one of these up at your local store and return it after you're done. Ideally, you'd use one of those little pencil-style mini heat guns for better aim, but I got it done with this cheap standard heat gun. This is the one I have. It's currently $34.99 at O'Reilly's. Other than that, you'll need either a utility knife or wire strippers. I also found this squirt bottle to be very useful for the baking soda solution. Here's a complete list with cost. The crimper kit, $35.99. Marine connectors, $21.99. Terminal protectors, $4.29. Heat gun, $24.99. Grand total of $87.26. Of course, if you want to save a few bucks, you can get the crimper kit without the cutters and use some pliers or whatever you've got on hand. But for $6, these are actually really good cutters. I have to say that these crimpers are not great, and one of the connectors came loose about a week after installation, and I had to redo one of them. You can probably do this job for less, but I thought I would at least give you an idea of what you need and a rough cost breakdown. If you have a car that is around 20 years old, you should definitely take a look at the battery terminal connectors, because over time they start to corrode and compromise the battery connection, and that can cause a lot of stress on the battery and alternator. So you should probably replace these terminal connectors before they have a chance to do some damage. Alright, thanks for watching. I'm not a car guy, but I will be. Giddy up!